If you enjoy watching Common Ground online, please consider making a tax-deductible donation at lptv.org. Lakeland Public Television presents Common Ground, brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota. Welcome to Common Ground. I'm your host, Scott Knudsen. In this episode, musician Shannon Murray sings the songs of the labor movement. Join in as she records her punk album.
I'm Shannon Murray. I'm a folk punk musician, storyteller, activist from Bemidji, Minnesota, and I play a variety of styles of music, anywhere from folk to folk punk to punk, in a variety of applications. I said again.
Let's do one more take.
Sure.
Nice big deep breath. You ready?
Oh, I have to say that all again?
Yeah.
I'm Shannon Murray. I'm a folk punk musician, storyteller, singer-songwriter, activist from Bemidji, and I play a lot of different styles of music, anywhere from folk to folk punk to punk rock, electrified in a band. I helped to put together this presentation at Bemidji State University for Women's History Month. So I'm going to talk a lot of it actually, about the IWW tonight, and especially focus on the women of the IWW, and sort of pull up the obscurest of the already obscure history and music and culture of that time. Carla actually had this idea. It was brilliant. I'm really glad that you helped inspire putting this together. I had to dig a lot to find information about a lot of these women, because history does not always record the lives of political radicals all that well, nor does it record the lives of women all that well, and it certainly doesn't record the lives of women who are working class. So I had a lot of work cut out for me. I'm going to sing the first song I ever learned. And by learned, I mean I read the lyrics in a book and just made up the rest all on my own. It's folk music, right? This is Hallelujah, I'm a Bum. And the IWW was a very radical organization. They wanted to get everyone all together into one big union. They organized women, people of color, and immigrants, which was at that time pretty much unheard of. Not only were those folks being organized, but they were the organizers, which was another huge thing in 1905 when they were founded, to have women at the forefront of their organization. And singing was one of their most persuasive tactics, and you will understand why after this song. Don't be shy. Let's try it together. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Yeah, hallelujah, you'll give us a handout to revive us again. And they say, why don't you work like other people do? How the hell can I work when there's no work to do? Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Yeah, hallelujah, you'll give us a handout to revive us again. And I went to a house and I knocked on the door. The lady said, scram bum, you've been here before. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Yeah, hallelujah, you'll give us a handout to revive us again. So I've been playing old IWW labor songs for a number of years now. I sort of discovered them in this really wonderful book of folk songs called Rise Up Singing, about maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and I've been playing those songs and was approached by BSU to come for Women's History Month and then specifically focus on the women in the IWW labor movement. So I actually spent a lot of time researching and reading and digging through history to find all these unsung lady heroes, and I put together the performance. It was really a fun thing. Starving out on this bread line, hallelujah, I'm a bum, hallelujah. bum again. Yeah, hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. And they say, why don't you save all the money you earn? I said, if I didn't eat, I'd have money to burn. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Yeah, hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. Thanks. Thank you all for singing with me. It's very important that we sing together. I think there aren't enough spaces for doing that sort of stuff. I mean, I think people have been using music in movements for social justice as long as those movements have been around. I think music, art, poetry, theater have always been ways that folks have used to express themselves, and certainly in a political realm, to inspire people, to educate people. I think those two shows were very, very different. The Student Union was more of a captive audience in that they were literally captive. They were having lunch. They weren't really there for music necessarily. Some of them maybe had to suffer through it, and some of them probably discovered something cool that they weren't aware was happening. You know, there was definitely people engaged, but it was an interesting sort of environment and there's like a disconnect playing in the Union, whereas at Bangsburg, people came to see the show, they were singing along with me, they were connecting with the performance and with me. Prince of a revolution, a fascist remix, Woody Guthrie twist and the truth. I see myself primarily as a storyteller, so music is the medium that I tell stories, whether it's personal stories or stories about things in history that I find inspiring. I tend to gravitate towards political activism and music and kind of the intersection between those two things, and using storytelling as a way to connect those very different things together. Bread, oh yeah, you know that's true. We want bread, but we want roses too, and all the things that we want and the things we need simply. Lucy Parsons was one of the founding members of the IWW. She was an Indigenous woman, she was a Mexican-American woman, she was an African-American woman. Survived slavery, survived the Civil War, survived the KKK, moved up north to Chicago. And she was at the founding convention for the IWW, and this quote up here is what she so bravely pointed out, is that women were often used to lower wages and that they needed to be organized and that women needed to be at the forefront. The Chicago police called her more dangerous than 1,000 rioters. She was unapologetically militant, I think arguably because she'd seen so much violence at the hands of the state and at the hands of people in power. In researching her, I found one reference to a song that was written about her, but of course I couldn't find that song. And so I had to stop being a lazy folk singer and just go ahead and write my own. And I took one of my favorite lines, a few of my favorite lines of hers actually, and put them into here. The chorus is, we are governed best where we're governed least. And of course that's a riff on the Thomas Jefferson, and Henry David Thoreau too had a little riff on that as well, about government being best which governs least. But Lucy went one step further and said, you know, we really don't even need government to govern us. So I'm gonna sing this about her. This is about Lucy Parsons. Also, if you want like the bibliography after the concert, I would be happy to point you to some wonderful books. What sort of sick, twisted, paternalistic thinking could lead one to believe that the people whose hands built these cities deserve none of life's liberties? Lucy Parsons, I just knew about her very much from a distance. I'd heard about her, I'd maybe seen like her quoted in places. I'd never really delved too much into her life, and to read about all the things that she went through. Power than you'll ever wield. And we are governed best where we are governed least. We are governed best where we're governed least. And no National Guard, no president, no police. We are governed best where we're governed least. And that in a lot of ways she's mostly a footnote in history, and she's mostly associated with her husband, who was executed by the state after the Haymarket riots. She was sort of put in this tiny little box as the wife of this martyr, and to learn about all the things that she did on her own, in her own right, all of the amazing ideas that she had that are still really relevant, to read something that this woman wrote 100 years ago and to have it still really applicable today was both inspiring and also a little bit disheartening. There's that sort of both ways that you can look at it, and that I certainly do look at it. When I was reading her words, I was both inspired by the level of radicalism and the level of just she just said it like it was. She didn't put it nicely or politely, and I really love and appreciate that. And here is a woman who is writing this stuff at the very beginning of the early 1900s, who is an African-American woman who was born into slavery, who lived through the Civil War, who lived through the KKK and all this violence, moved from the South. She was definitely kind of an anomaly, and she toured all over the country speaking and just wrote these really amazing and prophetic and insightful speeches and essays. And we have a lot of that today, which is really great to have her own words. There isn't a lot written about her that's about her. Most of the biographical stuff that she didn't write is about her husband, which is unfortunate, but we still have her words. And so when I went to write the song, I went back to her words, and kind of some of the things stuck out. Just the radical nature of her writing really inspired and informed the lyrics that I chose for that song and the style I chose to play it in, and she was a firecracker. Thanks. Here we're going to talk about next. Anybody familiar with Mother Jones? Heard the name before? A lot of folks know her as a lady who got a magazine named after her, but she's a lot more than that. She's probably one of my favorite characters in all of this. She actually marched a lot of children up to the president's doorstep. She had two kind of pet projects while she was organizing. She worked a lot with minors, and she worked a lot with children. And I think it's easy sometimes for us to forget that things like child labor laws and the 8-hour day, it's easy to forget where they came from. People like Mother Jones put themselves in harm's way, went to jail. People died to make those things a reality for us today. And I think, at least for me myself, I'd kind of lost touch with that before I started learning this history and really realizing all the things that I have today and the folks that came before and made that possible. This is why I love Mother Jones. So I'm a feminist. I'm a big feminist. And I was reading her autobiography, and I read this quote by her. She got into a little bit of a tizzy with the suffragettes. They got into a little bit of a fight because the suffragettes wanted Mother Jones to come in and advocate for women's right to vote. And Mother Jones was too busy advocating for the workers' right to a fair wage and food and things like that. At first, I was a little taken back by somebody saying that she didn't really care if women voted. And I don't think that was exactly, I wasn't reading it properly. What she was saying is that she didn't need the vote because she would just go out and directly do the things that she was told she could not do. She didn't want to vote for somebody else to do things for her. She wanted to go out on the world and through direct action change things. And she did. She spoke all over the country. She was arrested a number of times. Pretty amazing, amazing woman. This is a tune I wrote about Mother Jones. Again, not a whole lot of material written about her during her life, and so I just went ahead and wrote a song for her. And actually my daughter, where's my little daughter? Hey there, Tilly helped me write this chorus to this song. I want to embarrass her. And like a phoenix, she rose up from the ashes, abiding by no laws but her own. She stoked the flames of rage and sparks of hope, just doing what she knew must be done. Oh, Mother Jones, oh, she's the toughest gal you'll ever know. Oh, Mother Jones, oh, don't you mess with her, you ought to know. We don't mess with her, do we, Tilly? She's like, Mom. That song started out just from one line in her autobiography. We're really lucky that she wrote down the story of her life. It's very colorful and interesting. And there's one story that she tells. She was organizing some miners in Colorado, and the National Guard was called in. There were vigilantes there with guns pointed at the miners, threatening them. And there had been a lot of violence. Certainly, like you look at the Ludlow massacre, these miners were often shot at, often killed as they were working towards their own liberation. And Mother Jones was there at the front and oftentimes leveraged her power power as a woman and also as an elderly woman. So she's, in her 80s, and there's this story about how she walked up to one of these men with their guns and she put her hand over the barrel of the gun and dared them to shoot her as a tactic to let the men who she was organizing cross and walk through safely. And in that instance, she was successful. Obviously, they're probably not going to shoot her as this, cute old grandma. And she wore these very fancy, prim and proper dresses and just sort of played up that part, but just was unapologetically outspoken, radical advocate for workers. And I just love the image of that of her walking up and putting her hand over the barrel of that gun, knowing that she probably was safe, but also knowing that she wasn't safe. In that moment, I just find that imagery so powerful and so inspiring, and that image led to the song.
She said, we'll pray for the dead and we'll fight like hell for the living.
Thanks. My songwriting process is sort of just, I sit in a room with my guitar and just sing and see what comes out. And I record everything. So, I kind of go back to that recording and pick out the things that I like. And my daughter actually helped me write the chorus to that song. She said she's the toughest girl you'll ever know. And I changed girl to gal, and, it was sort of a collaborative family effort on that one, which is kind of cool.
Because it comes on the end of 4 instead of on 1.
At the core of what I do, I've been playing political folk music for 12 years now. I started playing guitar in college and writing music and writing about my experience and experiences in my family and in the world around me. Mostly personal stories that connect with political movements. I mean, that's pretty much what I do, even with the labor stuff. That's at the core of it. I'm a storyteller and I have a passion for social justice.
I wrote offbeat reminder. I don't know what that's going to mean, but that's what that
Over the years, I was very, very folk-informed sort of playing. And then gradually, I don't know if it was like the angst or the excitement or what passion, I just started playing faster and harder, and I started playing live more and, stomping and pounding on my guitar. I've broke my guitar a number of times playing too hard, or not. That's not true. I don't play too hard. It's just how I play. I play very, very hard. So over the years, I somehow went from a folk singer to a folk punk performer. And I had never really listened to punk music. I didn't have that growing up. I had no idea. I was at a concert somewhere, I don't even remember where I was, and somebody made a reference to me sounding a little riot girl, and I was like, ooh, that sounds cool. And I had no clue that it was like this whole genre of music that I had missed out on as a youngster. And so started kind of listening to that stuff more. I sort of moved from folk to punk kind of, I don't know, it was like a feeling, right? Like just a angsty. And then, started listening to more punk music and kind of solidifying that style. And I think there's a lot of overlap between the two forms of music, the folk world and the punk world. I mean, really any style of music. We have beautiful pieces of classical music that have been written to protest things and inspire people and talk about social justice issues with no words. But I think the folk music and punk music to me seem to be some of the more accessible kinds of music. Like you can pick up a guitar and 3 chords, you can be singing yourself some Woody Guthrie in your living room, no problem. And same thing with punk music. There's a lot of skill and virtuosity within both of those genres as well. I think it's interesting though, as I've been developing as a musician, and I just last year started playing in a punk band for the first time, and I've actually had to start playing scales on my guitar and actually doing vocal warm-ups and actually being more intentional. I have classical training on the clarinet, so kind of drawing on that classical training in order to play in a punk band, which is just weird. I never would have thought that would have been the case, but it's stretched me as a musician and kind of changed how I play as an acoustic solo artist in really good ways. It's good to have those assumptions challenged. So I've got a number of recording projects in the work. I'm pretty much going to be in the studio from now until close to the end of 2016. I've got an album of original music that I've been working on with a couple of local folks. Owen Weaver, who's a fabulous drummer who lives in New York now, flew home and did some drums, and my bass player in my punk band, Garrett Berkey, has played some bass on this album, and I have a friend coming in from Portland to play cello, so it's kind of this collaborative solo project that's, you know, really a band project, and that's a new thing for me. I've never really recorded in that way. I've always just gone me and my guitar sort of alone against the world in the studio, and so it's nice to go into the studio and be surrounded by other musicians and have that support and have those sorts of sounds and energy. So that album is really different, and I'm really excited about it. It's also the first album I've done in a while. I kind of took a break from music, had some really hard stuff happen, and that album was sort of me returning to playing music and sort of dealing with a lot of big feelings, and it's kind of a big deal for me personally, and it's starting to sound really awesome, and I'm really excited. We're going to be releasing it in October 2015, so I'm excited for that. And then I got all these labor songs that I've been doing, so I'll be recording those after that project wraps up. And then I have a couple of smaller projects. My buddy Mark Gunnery, who's just an amazing songwriter from Baltimore, we are going to do a little EP sort of split with the two of us covering each other. I play his songs from time to time, and so we're going to do riffs on each other's music, which should be exciting. And then I have this punk band that just started. We just played our first show. We've been writing. It's been nice to do really collaborative stuff. So my bass player will come in with a guitar part, and I'll write some lyrics. And like, we're all putting these pieces together and writing stuff that I never would write on my own. And it's really been the most challenging thing I've ever done as a musician. And I think we're having some good success with it, and it sounds awesome. And I'm pretty pumped. Can we go back? Because I started singing.
Maybe we should listen to that again.
I lost some level from you.
We can flip to the last slide here. We're going to end the evening with one of the probably best known Union songs ever. I was itching to sing this. I was looking for an excuse to sing it. And I read somewhere, we don't know if it's true or not, but it's rumored that this song was written for Lucy Parsons for a strike she led. And after I read that, it made a lot of sense. The language in here is very, very much similar to the kind of rhetoric that she used. So your part is up there on the screen. And I just want to end the evening by thanking Carla for inspiring this, wherever she is, inspiring this concert and getting me off my butt to do some research on the women of the IWW. Pretty inspiring union in and of itself. I was inspired enough by the inclusion of women and people of color and immigrants and the leadership roles they had. But I'm excited to delve even more into this and learn about some more about all of this. And when you go home tonight and you're like laying in your bed, I hope you will think about these folks too and what they've given us. It's a pretty big gift. Your part is up there. It's pretty simple. It's a solidarity forever, solidarity for. We can't play this plugged in. We're gonna just do this. I feel weird playing this song amplified. It's not meant to. It's a people's song. Okay. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. You guys want to try that with me? Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. That song is kind of like the anthem. You know, it's the most well-known labor song. Ralph Chaplin wrote it, and I sped it up a lot. It's about coming together in unity to face these problems, and it ends with this triumphant sort of verse about everyone being together in unity, solidarity forever. Is there aught we hold in common with the greedy parasite who would lash us into serfdom and would crush us with his mind? Is there anything left to us but to organize and fight, for the union makes us strong? Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever. The IWW used music as a tool. They very intentionally would write songs to educate people, write songs to entertain people,
write songs to make people laugh about really messed up and difficult situations so that they could cope and get through it. They wrote songs that people could sing together because there's something really powerful about raising our voices in a group. But the thing is, all those folks are long gone, right? This happened a long time ago. None of those folks are alive today, but those ideas are still alive and well, and we see them rising up all over the world, and I think that's pretty inspiring. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. And here's that obligatory, positive, uplifting verse. In our hands is placed a power greater than their hoard of gold, greater than the might of armies magnified 1,000-fold. We can bring to birth a new world from the ashes of the old, for the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. Let's do that one more time. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. Yeah. Thank you guys for coming. If you want to chat about any of this history or folks have questions, I'm happy to geek out some more. So don't be shy. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week on Common Ground. If you have an idea for a Common Ground piece that pertains to North Central Minnesota, email us at legacy@lptv.org or call us at 218-333-3014. To view any episode of Common Ground online, visit us at lptv.org. To order episodes or segments of Common Ground, call 218-333-3020. Common Ground is brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people November 4th, 2008. If you enjoyed this episode of Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground, consider making a contribution at lptv.org.